Preakness at Pimlico is coming up this weekend, and we saw Nyquist take the first leg of the Triple Crown with the Kentucky Derby last week. Barry Abrams from ESPN's In the Gate podcast gives us a look at this week's Preakness, and we start off with the winner of the Derby. Barry, welcome back, and you wonder, all right, did you see enough to think that he's a Triple Crown contender or pretender?
Well, there's a difference between being a Triple Crown winner and a Triple Crown contender. I don't think there'll be much problem in him being crown contender. Whether he walks out of the Belmont Stakes with the whole schmozzle is a different story. But I don't think he's going to have all that much trouble here. He and Exaggerator are head and shoulders above everybody here. They finished 1 and 2 in the Derby. There aren't really too many scenarios that could get Nyquist beat. I'll give you a couple of them, and I'm not saying they're going to happen, but they could happen. First of all, Mike, there's a lot more pace, early speed in this race than what shaped up in the Kentucky. Now, they were supposed to be in the Kentucky Derby, but Nyquist was the problem for them. Because in the Derby, all those horses that wanted to go to the lead started on Nyquist's right, on the outside, and they tried to get over to the rail, but Nyquist broke so well that he was basically a moving pick. Illegal in basketball, not so in horse racing. And so the only horse that made the lead was Danzig Candy, who was all out from the 20 post to get past Nyquist and assume the lead. But that was the only target Nyquist had to worry about. Sat right behind him, got his cue on the far turn, inhaled Danzig Candy, and got the jump on the horses trying to close ground on him, like Exaggerator and Gun Runner and Mohamed. So I don't think there's going to be quite that ease here with that scenario. There's like 4 or 5 horses that are probably going to go out to the lead. And the question is, how are they going to line up? If they line up as a wall and Nyquist has to sit a couple of lengths behind them, that's going to put him a bit closer in touch with the horses trying to catch him, like Exaggerator. And remember, Exaggerator only finished a length and a half behind, and he had a bad trip going around the turn. He ran basically right up onto the horse in front of him, clipped heels. His front hooves clipped the rear hooves of the horse in front of him and slowed him down. Fortunately, there was no accident, but it checked his momentum, and he didn't finish behind by too much. You throw in the fact that it's supposed to rain, as you know, being in Atlantic City, it's going to rain.
And very
tomorrow.
hard.
Yeah, very hard. That will help Exaggerator because his 2 best races have come on wet tracks. So there is a scenario there where Nyquist could get beaten. Do I think he will get beaten? Probably not, but it's not far-fetched.
Barry, can you give the listeners a little bit of insight on, the difference in the length here and who that favors between the 2 favorites in this particular race? Because Exaggerator is the number 2 horse in terms of the odds here. There's not a lot of horses that went from the Derby to the Preakness.
No, and that's mainly because in this day and age, probably in the last 5 or 10 years, horses' races are spaced out a lot more than what the Triple Crown schedule allows. Normally, horses don't race more than once every 4 or 5 weeks. But since 1969, this has been the configuration of the Triple Crown, 2 weeks to the Preakness and then 3 more to the Belmont. And so if you don't win the Derby and have a chance at history, you really don't have the pull to, bring your horse back in 2 weeks. Now, credit to the Exaggerator people for trying it and being sports about it. But I don't know that this plays to their benefit, not even so much because of the 2 weeks of rest, but because it seems like the longer Exaggerator runs, the longer distance, the longer he has to run somebody down. And he was coming at the end of the Kentucky Derby, but the Preakness is a 16th of a mile shorter than the Derby. So this really doesn't play to his strength. Now, 3 weeks from now in the Belmont, if Exaggerator shows up or if sudden breaking news, the 5th place finisher in the Derby who was coming hard at the end, that's where we talk about whether Nyquist is going to be able to seal the deal. And I think there are going to be some grinders and closers in there with a lot more room in the 1.5 mile Belmont who will have something to say about that.
Preakness this weekend. Barry Abrams, ESPN's In the Gate podcast How about Collected, a Baffert horse here as a new entry here? Could he be the most dangerous horse in terms of I don't want to say long shot, but a non-favorite? Who are some of the non-favorites that intrigue you?
Well, Collected, you can never discount somebody that Bob Baffert brings here. He's won this race 6 times. But Collected is one of those horses that's going to go to the lead. And he's going to be part of that 4 or 5 horse gaggle that's trying to take over the lead at the beginning. And the only couple of races that he won, he did so when getting out to a lead by himself and running the half mile in 50 seconds. You are not running this Preakness in 50 seconds. It's going to be run in 48 or 47 seconds, which I just think is too fast for him to win. So he's a quality horse. He's talented, and he's won a couple of decent races, but I don't see that happening. The one horse who on paper seems overmatched, but I wouldn't throw out, if you're looking for a long shot here in a gambling town like Atlantic City, I'd take a look at Cherry Wine, who goes from number 1. His numbers are not even close to Nyquist, but his best races have come on wet tracks. And, he's certainly going to get that tomorrow. So especially if you have a very hot pace scenario, a 47-second pace, you could see that pace completely fall apart because none of those front runners are going to have anything to say at the end of this. And Cherry Wine could be coming hard. And the question is, will he have a chance to run down Nyquist? I don't think he beats Nyquist, but I don't think I would throw him out for a piece underneath for second or third.
All right, we'll see if Nyquist can stay healthy. We know American Pharoah, he kept getting stronger at this stage of the game, but a lot of times, as you kind of chronicled, Barry, a lot of these horses get worn out by the time they get to the Belmont, but we'll find out if he is a special horse or not, and that will be this weekend at the Preakness, just about 2.5 hours from us here in Atlantic City. Thank you, Barry. It's always a pleasure, pal.
Well, you know where to find me anytime.